Hi, welcome back. I appreciate you coming over for a visit. So today we are going to move our summer rose blue star into a self-watering with leca setup. And as you can see, her roots are growing all out of this pot, and I am going to cut this pot up. Now this is a good time to do this because I have this lovely root right here beginning, and then we do have the beginnings of a little bit longer one here. So the plan is to cut her out of this pot with as little damage to any of the roots as possible. Now look at her blooms. Oh my goodness. Let me put her down so she's a little more steady. But look at that purple blue. Is that not just beautiful? And she's been in bloom for a while. Like, her spike keeps extending, so you can see how far she's gone out, and she still has more to come. And I'm going to continue to let her bloom out unless I see she's struggling in any way. So obviously in the root department she is fine, and she has grown this leaf right here this season as well, if you can see that, and it is much longer than this one or the previous. So she is doing just fine. So that's another reason I'm going to go ahead and let her continue blooming. So I got her in September of 2021. She has been in this pot since November of 2021, and I just love how wild this has gotten. So first thing I'm going to do is pull this stake out, and I have put this stake in here to help train this spike to go up instead of through, so that it would be less cumbersome for me. It wasn't to stake her up, it was just to guide the spike where I wanted her. Sorry, that was out of shot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where I'm going to hold her, and then just shake out as much of the media as I can, and then just kind of pull it out. So that, and she does have some slow release fertilizers in here, which in the leca I'm not going to be able to do. I don't think that you can put the self-watering in leca. I have to research that and see before I add them in. If I can, I will, because I really like using them, especially for my phals. They are pretty heavy drinkers and pretty heavy feeders. And I did a count, I think it was last night or the night before. So I have roughly 180 orchids, give or take. And out of those, 78 are Phalaenopsis. That includes all my hybrids and the summer novelties, the species, all the phals I have. I have 78 of them. So out of my entire collection, the Phalaenopsis are at le top. I have the most of those. So when I say I still love my phals, I guess I'm not lying. All right, so let's see where we're going to start. I'm going to start right here. See, both of these are coming out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of start here, being very careful not to get into the root quite yet. And I'm just going to make me a little V there so I have an opening. Now some people work their way from the bottom. I like to work my way from the top so I can see it as I go. And then let's move her this way. And not sure if you can see that, but I'm going to get right to the edge of where that hole is. And then I'm just going to peel it back a bit and free those very, very carefully so that we're not. There we go. All right. Now where are we? This one will be next. So we'll just, again, cut up here. And then I'm going to go from the top to break that big part. And then we'll kind of pull it away a little and break the root. Well, it was already had a break in it right here, as you can see. Let's see if I can, did you see where it already had like a kink in it? I was just still trying to save it. Well, root loss is expected a little bit. I'm trying to save, again, as many as I can. So this one might be easier to save because it's not quite stuck into that hole. But be very careful here. Sorry guys, I have to concentrate right here because this is, there we go. Cut that again. So how is everyone doing? I am having a fantabulous, I'm recording this on Sunday. Later on today, we're going to do our monthly ladies luncheon that we do. Again, part of taking care of yourself, spending time with others, get out and about. Don't stay stuck in the house. Because here in the Northern Hemisphere, the bad weather, I call it the bad weather, the cold weather is coming. I don't like cold. Let me know if you enjoy cold weather. Like, are you one of those people that just look forward to the cold weather? I get it, not everybody likes hot, but like, are you one of those that like really, really enjoy that cold? Because I would like to know. And did you grow up with the cold weather? Is that why you like it, or is it just something inherent in you? Okay, so see how this one right here, like it looks like I could just pull it through, and I probably could, but I don't want to sacrifice that root tip. So instead, I'm going to cut that open to try to save the root tip. Let's see. Go here. Whoop. Move that piece. Lay her down. And Mr. Loki's trying to decide if he wants to stay and supervise me today or if he trusts me to be doing this on my own. So he's up and down out of the chair. Let's see. Up, we have one more root down here at the bottom. Do you see it? That one right there. That one's going to be tricky because of where it is. I may just have to sacrifice that one, but we're going to try and save it by cutting on either side of it. Maybe that will help loosen him out of the pot. Let's see if I can get to him. There we go. Awesome. All right, so she is free, and even though I cut the pot up, like I said before, those pots are not that expensive, so I'm not too worried about losing it. So this was in a mixture of moss and small bark and some perlite. And other than this one root right here that we already had that kink that was dried out in it, we have not lost any more roots. This is just some Phalaenopsis off of an old root, but I don't see where that is. So let's just check them real quick. Pull off any excess media that we have. And normally we would rinse everything off, and I'm just going to kind of swish her in this bowl of water I have over here beside me. I do have some Phalaenopsis that is come off, but overall her root system looks fabulous. Fabtabulous. I don't even know if that's a word. It's a word now. Look at this root. Look at those roots. Let me move the camera up just a wee bit so you can see it a little bit better. Look at those roots. Look at that system going in a lei pot. Now this one here, because it was aerial, I'm going to try to position it into the new pot kind of the same way, where this one is still out, so that this one right here doesn't decide to give up a lei ghost. But this one, again, same thing. I think I'm just going to let her sit in the pot though, because she was coming through and wrapping around. So she's used to a little more moisture, but either way it goes, if I lose her, it's no big deal. She's got all these other roots that will support her, and then she actually has this new root right here. She has this one, and then she has the one coming in here. So she's got new roots to take over if these roots here decide to give up. Just kind of looking. So I'm just going to swish her in this water to get any excess off. Being careful not to get any water into the leaf joints to avoid any crown rot. And the reason I'm not really going to take her to the sink and rinse her off is because in the leca, anything that is left will just flush through, and because she's going into inorganic media, it's not going to affect the breakdown, because like I said, it'll just flush out eventually. Alrighty, make sure I don't have any water in the crowns. And now, where am I going to put her? I didn't think this part through. That's all right. We'll just lay her right here for now. We'll lay her this way. Move that over and grab this leca stuff and get her going. And I do have a towel down here this time. Last time I did the leca, it got the table all wet and got me all wet underneath the table, because there's a little, this is one of those fold up tables, so it cracked a little bit. Just opening up the leca, and I'm putting her in kind of small, medium lava rock leca beads, because she is used to staying damp more than dry. So let's put our, and I have sanitized both the inner and outer pots. All right, so I'll finish getting all this set up, and then we'll get her in her pot. All right, so for those of you who've never put one of these indicators together, when you get them, they're usually like that. And you just take this portion out. There should be a little styrofoam ball or something, a floater in there. Just take the indicator sticks, put it in the middle, put your top on, and sometimes just make sure it is nice and snug so that it works. Just make sure it's all flush in there, and then it goes from the bottom, and then you just push it in. There we go. And then I always like to kind of see and make sure it's even with this portion here. So first thing first is we're going to put some water in here, and I've been doing this. I learned this from Nina at Ninja's Orchids. It kind of gives them a more gentle repot where you're not damaging the roots too much with the leca beads falling in, and the beads actually will find their own way down a little bit easier. So let's see how we're going to do this. So we're going to leave that one out, and let's see, and then we'll leave this one out because it was also aerial. And I did not put leca at the bottom just because and just gently put it in and around. And I'm sure you guys have seen this a bazillion times. If you watch Nina, you've probably seen her do this 100 times, if not more. And it really does make a difference. I'm just going to use my little tweezers here to kind of push them down, because I feel like my finger is a little too fat. And these roots are a little snug in here, but that's what I want. So she should be able to stay in here for about 2 years, unless she, of course, outgrows. And I'm going to pot her down a little bit lower so that as she does grow her roots, she can push up without coming out of the pot too soon, if that makes any sense. Because if I pot her too high, then I will definitely need to repot her again, probably in about a year. Whereas if I pot her a little bit lower than usual, then she should be able to stay for a bit longer. Okay, so that one is good. And then I'm just gonna shake her a little bit, holding, and I'm pushing down on her as I'm shaking her to keep her from rising up too high. I'm gonna add a wee bit more water now that I'm getting a little bit closer to the top to protect roots. Keeping in mind that I do have that new growth, or new root growth rather, not new growth, but the new root growth right there. And I'm just gonna leave that a little exposed so that she can grow into the leca instead of the leca drying her out, because she is not used to too dry of a top coat. I mean, she did have bark as her top layering, but bark is a completely different animal than leca. It doesn't wick, whereas leca will wick the moisture out if you're not careful. So let's see. Just kind of jiggle it around in there, let it kind of settle in. And I did soak her in a 50-50 CalMag and seaweed soak. So she has had her supplements to go into and get some strength to build up for this. And just grab a couple of more for this little corner here. And let's just do there. Okay. So one thing that I did learn, because I did leca at one point in the past, and I did not wait for new root growth. I just took the orchid out of the media and that she was in. I put it in leca and just, you know, thought I knew what I was doing. I didn't clean the leca properly. All I did was just kind of rinse all the dust off. I did not clean it with boiling water and kind of open up all the pores. And needless to say, it was not very successful. So that is kind of why I was like, I don't know if I can do leca. But then, after watching not only Nina's channel, but also Annabelle over in the orchid room, she also grows some beautiful phals in leca, and I hope she's okay. She's not posted in a few months, but that's where I learned that you have to sterilize the leca and how to wait for new roots. You know, all the stuff that really, guys, is common sense, but we don't think about it. Isn't that weird? How things, like, once you learn about it, you're like, duh. But then in your head, you're like, why didn't I know that? Just one of those weird things about us humans. We think we know what we're doing because we saw a picture. All right, let me take that there and maybe, let me grab my bowl, guys. It's way down here. And hopefully, like, see, there's a little piece of something that was in there that just flushed right on through. So that is what we will do. Now I will be doing a wash through or flush through every 2 to 3 days to keep the oxygen level in here going. And I'm going to go ahead and add the fertilizer now, not right now, but to the reservoir, which will be 150 parts per million of fertilizer. And she's been flushed it through. And we'll put that in there, and then I'll add the fertilizer. Water here shortly. But there she is. Let me move this big glaring thing out of the way so we can really look at her Doesn't she look smashing in her new home? And I did leave these top roots exposed because I do want them to find their way into the leca. And this one and this one were already outside of the pot. That's why I left them out. And the one I did put in there should be okay, but if not, she's got plenty to survive for now. And if I see that she's starting to kind of go downhill, I will unpot her and kind of check the roots just to make sure everything is okay. But I think she'll be fine. She's a thriver. Oh, and let's just finish it off on the blooms. And cutting that pot was not as difficult as I was imagining it to be. Look at there. All right, guys, I appreciate you coming over. Leave your thoughts below. Let me know what you think about her new home. And don't you just love these pots? Look how clean they look. Oh, just so pretty. I can't wait to get them all in the uniform looking pot. And with the square pots, it'll be a little easier to kind of put them on there. Of course, I've got to take into account these leaves. But overall, I can use, you know, like risers. And with this square pot, it's a little more sturdy. Just so many reasons to use the square pots as opposed to the round ones, unless you have the big base ones. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you on the next one.